Raph,
James.
this is a bit of a behind the scenes thing. We don't normally do behind the scenes.
No, not
We
us.
like to remain sort of aloof and above. I want people to feel like you just don't know how many people work on this podcast. It could be 1,000.
Yeah,
It could be like a Netflix production.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the Spanish speakers just come in and sit in these exact chairs as soon as we leave, and so they syndicate it. They say exactly the same thing that we do.
Yeah, the Spanish down round. Senor Ralphio, he comes in and he sits down. Anyway, no, but a little bit of a peek behind the curtains. We just spent probably an hour and a half putting together a bunch of video gear for Down Around's glorious return to TikTok. A lot of Chinese light boxes and mic stands and camera iPhone stands and all the rest of it.
This shit better be worth it. We're gonna put this crap will go on fucking YouTube, and no one's gonna watch it. And we're sitting here surrounded by light and junk.
You know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. Anyway,
Onwards and upwards.
onwards and upwards. We are talking about a little company. You may have heard of them before. Google
Yes.
had a bit of a blow up over the past month or so. Oh, yeah.
Blow up's
Issues.
a strong word.
Issues.
Before we go any further, full disclosure, someone on this podcast has been paid by Google before and will most likely get paid by them in the future.
Yep. It's not me.
Yeah, it's me. So that said, everything like I'm not employed by Google. You know, obviously everything I'm saying is my own opinion, all public information. It's my opinion. It doesn't reflect in any way anyone except for Capital Brief and the Down Round podcast.
Yeah, exactly. That's why the Capital Brief is fine. We're a journalistic outlet. We can say whatever we like.
I am
Within
first and
reason.
foremost a journalist.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah, you're a journalist. That's it. That is your calling. Anyway, but what we're talking about is that Google,
The Google.
owned by Alphabet,
They should drop the.
I think they did drop the many years ago.
I know that.
Anyway, last week, not long after we put out the podcast, it was announced that Google Deepmind, which is the AI arm of Google, essentially, started by
Like a research arm.
like a research arm.
Kind of, but it's become more than that.
Been a research arm that is now integral to the LLMs and Google Gemini and all the rest of it, but very much used to be research and now has some more commercial dimensions. The founder and CEO, Demis Hassabis, considered one of the leading lights of the AI scene, has been for a while. Sir Demis Hassabis,
Third Demis Hassabis.
I should add, he's a knight of the English crown, was announced that he would be stepping aside as CEO of DeepMind, where he's been there for, nearly 2 decades now, I guess.
Yeah, stepping up is what all the press releases said.
Stepping up. He's stepping up into the role of chief scientist at Google.
And chair of DeepMind.
And chair of DeepMind, which was a bit of a shock. People were surprised to see that happen, right? And at the same time, it was announced that Jeff Dean, who is the current chief scientist of Google, I believe that's his title, he is leaving with a handful of his top consiglieres to do a startup
Yep.
this late in life.
Yeah.
Now, this is all coming in the era where, all the attention at the moment, I think it's fair to say, at least in like the frontier AI stuff, has been on OpenAI and Anthropic and the battle between those two. Then you've also got the Chinese open source stuff. And generally speaking, people were like, Google's sort of comfortably in third there, at least in terms of attention, probably in terms of, capability. But this is all coming at a time when I think in the minds of many people, in like at least who spend all their time thinking about AI labs and what's happening with AGI and shit, are thinking they're falling off the rankings a bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, on the pro, like leading edge coding models.
Yes, where all the attention and
where all the attention is right now. Yeah, that Gemini is not really in the conversation. I mean, they haven't updated Pro publicly since late last year?
Yeah,
November-ish. I think when 3.1 Pro came out, Gemini 3.1 Pro, it was for a window like the best model.
Yes,
and then the next generation came out, and it just has not been updated.
It was
since.
kind of fun. I was reading that there was an article by this sort of chip analysis firm called Semi Analysis. They're pretty widely read, where and I kind of forgot about this, but when Gemini came out with Gemini 3 Pro, which, as you said, for a spell was considered this could be the best model, could be the smartest, most capable model. There were some questions about whether it was absolutely the best at coding, but as a general purpose model, it was considered the best. This was one of the things that caused OpenAI to kick off their Code Red one-off.
Yeah.
Also the Anthropic stuff, where they locked in and started ditching things.
Yeah.
Ended up getting rid of Sora, getting rid of all these other things that were sort of side from the main project of making the best model and the best coding model and whatever.
I think that moment, it's a good moment to bring up because that has kind of then set the tone for what's to come now. And it may, we don't know yet if that was a misstep or not, or if that is the path forward. And I think that's probably what a lot of this episode is going to be about, is what's Google doing?
What are they doing?
What's the plan? How will it all shake out?
Yep.
What's going on with Demis and whatnot? So I'm going to speculate here on a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
All publicly available information. So firstly, I think one thing that's clear is that Demis, he has never been that crash hot on LLMs. He was more in he thinks that obviously
they're cool.
They're useful, they're amazing what they do, helpful for coding, lots of business use cases there, etc. But he's more in the Jan LeCun school of thought, which is, and he said publicly, they're not going to lead us to AGI, which is something that Demis has kind of spent his entire career is about solving intelligence. His serve for his protein folding, so cure all diseases. This kind of stuff. The documentary is on YouTube about him, The Thinking Game. Actually, maybe I've mentioned this on a podcast before, but there's a moment in that doco, and it's the most replayed moment on YouTube.
Oh, it's got the
big hump, the big camel.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got the huge hump there. It's the most replayed moment. And it's this moment that they were filming where their AI has worked out how to fold proteins. And this is kind of the building blocks of, curing all diseases, proteins, right? You either know that or you can watch this documentary and they will reinforce that. To solve any disease, you got to work out how the protein folds.
Yep.
And so their AI that they've been working on for years and years, this super hard problem, they've created this AI that can fold any protein. And they're kind of what do we do next? What are the next steps? And, ideas are being kicked around or whatever. And the camera is in the room at this board meeting with Demis is at the top. And one of them's one option we have is we could just fold every protein. And he's like, well, how long would that take? And he's like, 2 to 3 months. He's like, well, why don't we just do that? And then this guy in the room is like, well, that's one of the options on the table. And then Demis is like, well, we should just do that. Fold every protein. Just start now. Fold every protein and then release it for free. Be that guy. So that's the moment that Demis gets his knighthood. He won the friggin' the prize or whatever, the Nobel Prize for that moment for folding every protein. Be that guy in the room who says, well, that's one of the options. And he was suggesting this web portal database that researchers could go to, and then you put in the protein that you want folded, and then that gets kind of put into some kind of system which triages and determines the priority or whatever.
Just fold them all. Yeah.
The guy, imagine being the guy in the most replayed moment. That has millions and millions and millions of views on YouTube, that doco. Being the guy who's to the Nobel Prize idea, well, that's one option.
I'll be honest, I have been the guy in many meetings who's that's don't. I can't be fucked with that.
That's one option.
It might not work. Let's and just thinking the guy who's I've been this guy thinking in the back of your head imagine how much fucking work I'm personally gonna have to do if we all agree to do that. Imagine how much shit it's going to be. How many late nights going to do and come to the office early and all that sort of stuff. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, no, I get it.
Sorry, anyway, my point is, big divergent. But point being, that's been Demis's thing, right?
And solving all diseases.
Solving all diseases.
Guys are around.
As well as he's in that Jan LeCun, LLMs, as we've said on this podcast, they don't truly understand the physical world. In fact, I said it on the episode 2 months before ChatGPT came out. AI, it doesn't currently fully understand the world. It can talk about the world. I mean, we could get into philosophical debates of like what is understanding. But the point is like a baby innately works out gravity, works out the concept of gravity, like dropping something and knows it. Doesn't have language, and yet it understands the concept of gravity. LLMs can talk about the concept of gravity, but they can't. Like they don't actually understand it, which is also why in videos and stuff they struggle with, consistency or whatever.
Yep.
And Demis's whole thing, saw him talk at I/O, is about he's way more interested in world models. These video models and these models that do innately have an understanding of the physical world, as well as ones that can have like continual learning that don't just like keep making the same mistake again and again because it doesn't learn from its mistakes.
Correct.
This is what he's into.
This is what he cares about. But the point is, all that stuff is wonderful and great. The market does value that stuff in the abstract. Right now, everyone has agreed it's coding models. If you're not winning in coding models, you're not winning in the stuff that has like business applications and Accenture can roll out to places.
Yeah.
And you can whack harnesses around to produce, code and business logic and whatever. They don't give a fuck about it.
Totally. It's running into the commercial realities of like the present moment.
Exactly.
Which is like companies all of a sudden, in OpenAI and Anthropic's case, being worth $1 trillion in a matter of 2 years because they have good LLMs and coding models. And if you're, in Demis's case, the guy running AI for Google, and you're just not that interested in that because he was a wunderkind. It also says in that documentary, like, Demis, his parents are like, at age 4, we noticed Demis had an aptitude for chess. And I was like looking at my 5-year-old going, fuck.
Not happening.
He likes the chess pieces.
No, that's a start. Like,
He likes thinking he's playing chess.
You would think that Demis probably began by liking the chess pieces.
Yeah, I mean, what does an aptitude mean? Like, did he know the rules?
I think so, yeah. To have an aptitude, you got to have some sense of the rules. Like, or some intuition for like, okay, you've told me that a pawn can move one space or two from the and then you're immediately thinking, okay, you're thinking patterns.
You think, yeah.
I mean, everything is
control the middle of the board. Point is, like, the LLM thing, it probably just doesn't interest him as much, personally.
So,
and he should, therefore, like, doesn't really make sense for him to be the head of Google AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, I think that's basically right. As I said, he's more interested in the curing cancer, future super intelligence stuff. Not really that interested in the interim. I don't think when it comes down to it, he's a scientist, researcher type. I don't think he gives a stuff about running a business and being responsible for, P&L sheets and figuring out how we're going to sell this as a business or integrate it into Google's products.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole political thing is that when it looked like Google had missed the LLM moment altogether. We were talking about this on the pod back when it happened, but the whole idea that OpenAI had discovered something that could theoretically render Google irrelevant didn't happen in the end, but there was a moment where it seemed like that could happen.
Yeah.
People were going to use ChatGPT as a surface for all their use of the internet.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll still happen, but at the moment, as we saw with Google's earnings and whatever, people are searching more. Yeah. They're using more with Google AI summaries and shit like that.
Yeah,
but for a moment, it looked like Google might be stuffed. And as a result, they engineered a merger of Google Deepmind and what's the other thing?
Google Brain.
Google Brain, right? Not a merger, but like a collaboration or whatever. Or like functional merger.
Yeah.
With the idea being all of you guys are working on LLMs now. And I would imagine that Demis Hassabis has been sitting around like, not really what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not really here to do chatbots and shit like that, even though that's what the market wants.
Yeah, so like I personally was not particularly surprised that he's moving into like a chief scientist / chair / role that's means that, he doesn't have to come out on stage and talk about like the new Gemini Flash model or whatever. Like, or Omni, he usually comes out and talks about the video stuff anyway. But like, it makes sense. Like that makes sense to me. Then there's the other fellas, the big dogs who are stepping down. Jeff Dean, obviously a legend of the game, and his team. Yeah, plenty of legends there. Again, here's what I think more broadly on this podcast. Well, I'll ask you this, James.
Please.
I may use the Socratic method here.
Okay, yeah. That's why we started it.
So, do we think that the current paradigm of LLMs and coding models and whatnot will lead to recursive self-improvement and takeoff, and therefore be whoever does it first becomes the only business left?
I don't think so, but I would counter with this, which is like, and I think this is what a lot of people are grappling with right now, where it's like, there were lots of people worried, figuring out for a while, like, what's the wall that LLMs run into, right? Like, what's the wall? What can these models do and not do? And it turns out, anyone that used ChatGPT for 5 seconds would know what the wall is. And they like, you can figure out sort of the boundaries of how this shit works, right? And at the end of the day, those boundaries still exist if you are just using straight up Claude or using straight up a GPT model or whatever. The reason they've managed to we've gotten to a point where they've started to like make novel discoveries in mathematics and shit is because they've figured out all these harnesses they've wrapped around it. They have all the other logics embedded into it, right?
Which make them just grind away.
Make them grind away in these agentic ways and collaborate and in fucking swarms of LLMs.
But that doesn't answer the question.
It doesn't answer the question, no. But I feel like more and more, I think they're like a key part of it. And they're going to help develop more of it. But I don't think that there's more they need to be able to do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure it answers the question, but like, I guess
if I knew I would be being paid $100 million a year to work at a frontier lab. But here I am talking into this cheap Chinese video gear for a podcast at 10 o'clock at night in Sydney, Australia. Not a hotbed of AI innovation.
In my shed, converted. Yes, but I guess the point is like, okay, if you're Google and you're looking at, investment in like being a frontier AI company with regards, and don't get me wrong, I think Google wants to be a frontier AI.
For
course. Like they want to.
They don't want to be in third place or whatever, or fourth place. Or whatever.
They want their model to, like their coding model to be the best. But at the same time, their options are, because of course Google have the infrastructure layer as well. They have like they're a cloud business. They in fact have their own TPUs. 10 years ago, they started making their own chips that you can train and run and like do inference on, AI inference on. They can dedicate all of that and all of their money and their heft into competing with OpenAI and Anthropic in a business model that is as yet unproven. In particular, right now, when you have Chinese models and Chinese labs following hot on the heels of, Anthropic and OpenAI, and that gap between them seemingly shrinking between like the Chinese open weight models, which are vastly cheaper, that brings into question, is there a sustainable business model? As people have been talking about this for years, well, probably about a year. Like, is there a sustainable business model for OpenAI and Anthropic? I.e., can they get enough of a margin on their tokens to justify staying on the leading edge there and all that investment? And Google has plenty of money, and they're able to like obviously fund all of their research with free cash flow and debt and share sales, increasingly that, like as in, before kind of last quarter. However, when they've got the rest of the stack, to me, it does make sense for Sundar and, the execs to be like, let's just, like, we don't know if that is, going to lead to takeoff. They might doubt that. Or maybe they think that that's one option, as much like the bloke in the room with Demis. Look, that's one option. That might not have an actual sustainable business model. So why not diversify? Leopold could learn a thing or two and go like, look, we've got the chips. How about we take some of our capacity and sell it effectively to Anthropic, who, by the way, we have a stake in already. We have a large investment in. How about we like dedicate it to that? Instead of like, we could give all our chips to our researchers and say, go for it. Like if you were 100% committed to the idea that, you need to be a leading edge model provider and there will be recursive self-improvement and that will lead to it, then you would dedicate your entire business to that, obviously. But if you're not sure, if there are other potential outcomes, then it would make sense to diversify and be like, look, we can be an infrastructure layer. And we haven't even got into like the flash models and stuff, which we'll get into in a sec. But like, I don't know, there is a bit of, I can see some kind of like slightly more rational. It's like if Microsoft is right and Amazon is right, then Google doesn't want to be on the other side of that. It's like we can also be right. We can win there. We can win regardless. That's what they're trying to do, I think.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right. And I think there's like, I don't know, part of me is also, and I put kind of Google and Meta in the same bucket here. And I think it's probably fair to put Google and Meta in the same bucket in many ways, in the sense that both have really, they have like AI research arms have been going for a long time. Both of them are massive ad machines that are incredibly profitable businesses. Both of them ostensibly are interested in AI because it will improve their other businesses. But then, you know, as we recorded this, Mark Zuckerberg has published this 6,500 word essay on the Meta website, which I read all of for my sins and was like, what are you fucking talking about? No one who's written this and who cares? But the fact that like Meta is out there really trying to be the coding model that everyone uses. And obviously Google's been trying to do that as well, even though they're spinning other plates. And it's like, why are you doing that? Why are you getting so involved? I know that...
Well, it's to justify the CapEx to the market, right?
It's to justify the CapEx. And in Mark Zuckerberg's case, probably like, I just have to win.
Yeah.
He just feels like he has to win at all times. And he's the guy that calls the shots at Meta.
Well, I mean, not to diverge, but like Zuckerberg has spent 10 years trying to find the new computing paradigm.
Yep.
And like spent so much money, hundreds of billions on, yes, metaverse and like goggles, they try to phone, all this kind of stuff, cryptocurrency, etc. If he's like, oh shit, if the new paradigm came along and he missed it, which is what's kind of happening, like if AI is a new way to interact with computers, which it may well turn out to be in 10 years' time, whatever, if he missed it, like he's
going into the drawing room of his fucking compound with a revolver and a glass of whiskey and ending it. That's it for Mark Zuckerberg. But I know, it's just, but again, there's something about that I find so, I know this is like diverting a bit from Google, but whatever. Mark Zuckerberg gets on X because, like, you know, X is where the AI discourse happens.
Yeah.
All the AI heads are there. So as a result, Mark Zuckerberg goes on X for the first time in over 5 years to post like a table of benchmarks for the new meta model. And like it's now available on Open Router. Is that not like a little bit embarrassing? Something about it's just like the fact that you have to participate in something that's clearly not your terrain.
Yeah.
Like your terrain is the fact that you've built, you know, depending on what way you look at it, the best or second best ad engine in history.
Yeah.
Like,
an amazing money printing machine.
Money printing machine.
That everyone is obsessed with and addicted to.
And has like obliterated the information environment of the world. And I don't just mean in the sense of like, you know, Facebook has ruined. I just mean like every business model that existed before that for how the internet and like media and everything works, destroyed by Mark Zuckerberg.
And now he's on Twitter posting benchmarks.
Because his swag was too tough. And now he's on there posting like a table where it says the meta model got 88.7 versus GPT's like 88.9. And it's like, what? Bro, aura loss.
Yeah.
Even participating is an aura loss.
No, totally.
Anyway, it's just, you know.
This is another element, though, to the Google thing, which it also tracks with Meta, which Google said in their earnings. They're like, AI has allowed us, well, and this is something that Meta is really bad at. Zuckerberg is just obviously not interested in ads and social media. You know what I mean? He's just like not interested in the foundational Meta business. He doesn't talk about it.
Solve problem.
You know, it's done. Exactly. It's done. It's like social media and ads. Like that's what people sharing stuff, you know, entertainment and ads. That's what he does. But like he doesn't talk about that ever, including in like he doesn't mention like when he talks about the AI spend and stuff, he kind of talks in this highfalutin way about, you know, in the future we see it as like a kind of content platform and like engaged minutes with AI is this, that, and the other, and like all and you know, future kind of AI products and whatnot. And I will give like Google this, their CFO on their earnings call is like, AI has allowed us to monetize search terms that we weren't previously able to monetize. We're monetizing at a higher rate because now we can monetize all these search terms that we couldn't because we didn't have the context through the words. Like, we are using and telling the market, we are using AI to make more money from ads.
Yep.
Amongst other things, but like being pretty explicit about it.
Yep.
And that's, Zuckerberg doesn't do that, which I think is a bit of like it's a missed trick. Like, you don't have to, because, the other thing that Meta said on their recent earnings is that they see enterprise as like a $6 trillion opportunity or whatever. And it's like, we've talked about this with the Metaverse stuff as well. It's like, bro, no enterprise is buying Facebook products to do work on.
No.
It ain't happening. Like, you're going to get on Facebook Cloud, like Meta Cloud, to run your, like...
Yeah, you missed that boat. You're not getting in the door. Like, I mean, Google are now... This is one of the things that's working for Google, is the Google Cloud is now, like, pumping.
Yeah.
But it took them a while to get to
they're
that
still
point.
in third place. But yeah, it's taken a long, long time for them to slowly move the boat of being a consumer advertising business to a cloud services business.
Yeah.
Like it's a different type of business entirely.
It's totally different. And
it's quite split up at like
Yeah.
at Google, like Google Cloud, Thomas Kurian is like CEO of Google Cloud. He's very independent. It's like they have their own sales teams and they have like it is like, because it kind of has to culturally be different, right?
It has to be, yeah, exactly. But now, I mean, this was one of the things that came out of their last earnings, is that like that engine is really firing, and it's what you were talking about as well. Like, they're selling all this compute capacity and whatever. I mean, remember when Facebook or Meta released their own like Slack / whatever? It was like Facebook Workplace or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, who the hell is doing that?
Well, yeah, and they were advertising. Well, they had one of the Meta Quests. I forgot what it's called. Whatever. Yeah. One of them is like a pro version that's like not for gaming. It's for like meetings and stuff.
Again, not happening. Real hangover from people are going to be working remote but need in-person experiences.
Yeah.
Which is just a thesis that died. You're in the office or you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's like, Zoom sucks. Wouldn't it be better if there was like a disembodied version of you floating and weirdly trying to imitate you without a thing strapped to your face?
Floating around in a simulacrum of an office? Isn't that what you want? It's like, no? And it's like, and maybe there's some sort of activation for Jose Escuevo tequila.
They were demoing it. I remember when they were demoing the like meeting rooms feature in Meta, and there was a door in the room or whatever, and someone, I think one of the journalists or whatever that I was reading the article about, was like, asked them, where does the door go? And they're like, oh, it doesn't go anywhere. People got too wigged out if there wasn't a door. I'm like, that should be your cue that like, this is a non-starter.
It's not right.
If we have to put fake doors because deep in someone's psychology,
their lizard brain is like firing that this is wrong and evil. Like, I've woken up in hell.
So we put a fake door there to fix it? I don't know if that just fixes it entirely.
To stop you from having like a fight or flight response. Just go to the office, bro. Rent out a bit of office. Like, you can rent it out in the fucking co-working space or something. Just get people in the office together. Anyway, yeah, I know that. But
the other thing, that the place where Google AI is doing really well, though, or LLMs. I mean, Google obviously their AI has always been good at media stuff like video, image. They've always been there or thereabouts. If not, I mean, I think Omni actually, like, people compare it a bunch to Seedance, and are like, oh, Seedance is probably better for like one-shot video generation. But I think people also misinterpreted Omni, which was like the model that Demis announced at the last I.O. It's like an editing model, kind of like Nano Banana. Like, you can put in video and say, change this person or whatever. OpenAI, I think, can do it now. No, they can't. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I think Google might be maybe there is some random startup I haven't heard of. But like putting in a video and saying, change this element in the video. Like, change James into a fish or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, that's very powerful. And that is like, and Demis is very excited about that because it's like, it understands, like the model understands the physics and stuff of the world. It kind of flew under the radar a bit there. But that was like, he's on the way to world models things. Anyway, whatever. Point is, a detraction. But Google's always been like, they're like pretty good in that area. The other thing they've been good at is price performance, like cheap, fast models. And that, I think, makes heaps of sense when you think about, like, as we kind of discussed, it's like there was that whole thing is like their core product could be disrupted by AI. Again, like I don't think there's very many people saying that anymore. Or maybe a little bit. People will be like, oh, but now that there is a marginal cost to like serving these AI overviews, are people going to see or click on as many ads as them? Blah blah blah. There's still like definitely some like criticisms of it, but I think it's become clear that, like, yeah, as you say, the numbers don't lie. Google searches are increasing because of AI overviews. They seem to be monetizing better. Of course, they're going to be dedicating some of that, again, the resources and like the brain power to like make this shit fast and cheap.
Yeah,
you know, which like to researchers or some researchers might not be as exciting as like make the best coding model, but make this fast and cheap, A, for our own products and services, because we need to scale this to billions and billions of users across like all of our products, including Google Search. And B, you know, like American Airlines or whatever, they probably don't or want to pay for Fable or whatever. They just use the best Google model if it's cheap and fast.
And also, obviously there's tons of workflows that don't need Fable. It just needs something that, as you say, is capable and intelligent while paying not that much. At the same time, is also the area that a lot of these Chinese models are playing in, which is also the big competitor. You know,
DeepSeek, obviously B4 Flash being like,
yeah, the new Flash from DeepSeek is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
although there are price of a brick going up.
Yeah, they're upping the price. They said, I think that's purely because they just don't have the inference capacity to.
I think it is because I read. But
it's also not multimodal. It doesn't take images.
No, and I think this is one of the reasons why it's so cheap. Although I saw some tweets from like a person that runs one of those third-party inference companies that was like, we've been able to match with some pretty serious engineering from our side, but like the DeepSeek pricing, the low pricing.
So people will be able to.
So it's like doable. So the vibe is either they're squeezing it for profit, or, as you say, they just don't have the chips, so they can't. They need to discourage people from using it, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But point is, like, I guess what I'm trying to get across here is, like, Google's attention is split across everything. They're not wholly... And don't get me wrong, like, obviously, Claude and OpenAI are still trying to make, like, lighter, quicker, cheaper models, and they do. Like, Sonnet was obviously fantastic.
But still...
What is it? Luna, whatever.
Anthropic is really not playing in that space at the moment.
Yeah.
But OpenAI is.
Yeah.
I think, again, this is an example of something that OpenAI is running rings around Anthropic. Like price to performance ratio stuff.
Yeah.
The Claude stuff is just very expensive. Even their cheaper models. And their cheapest one, Haiku, hasn't been updated in like a year or something, or some crazy amount.
Yeah, whereas, you know, you look at Google and, as we said, their Pro model is still on 3.1 and Flash is up to 3.6.
Yeah. And
keeps getting released.
Yeah.
And is a great model, which like... Yeah, and this is a funny thing where like we keep ending up. Well, recently, same thing's happening with DeepSeek, where like their Flash model is better than their Pro model, and like the difference between these Pro and Flash is basically supposed to be that your Flash models or your fewer parameters. Your Pro model is just everything, the kitchen sink. It's 1 trillion parameters. Then you quantize it down, like you make it smaller by like usually, you know, cut about 75% of it out of there. Then on top of your like quantized smaller model, you're doing your own reinforcement learning. But if you kind of really nail the reinforcement learning enough and like really like focus on it, they're sometimes ending up better than the Pro models. Often not at things like maths, but like even at coding and like other things.
Yeah,
some of these Flash
not
models.
a math. They're not as good at like producing believable text or writing or whatever, because they have less parameters and less, you know, connections in their weird little computer brain.
Yeah, but like DeepSeek, for example, their Flash is better than their Pro.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Currently. Although I think the new Pro model's coming as well.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Could be a banger.
Could be. Who knows? They're cooking stuff up over in China. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's interesting. And it's obviously a bit of earthquakes over at Google with people moving on and moving out. But
yeah, I mean, I think it all comes down to that commercial reality of where LLMs are at right now.
Yeah,
as well as, like, don't get me wrong, like Google's a big sclerotic, like it's a huge business.
It's one of the.
It's not a nimble startup like OpenAI and Anthropic, which are obviously both of them growing themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Like they even they are becoming less and less nimble.
Yeah,
like there was that funny shit the other day where it was like Dario Amodei at Anthropic starting to worry that some people are at Anthropic for the money and not
Yeah.
for the mission. It's like, yeah, bro.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, have we not been saying on Down Around for a while? Like, I don't know if your sales guy in Sydney is in it for the mission.
Is that involved in like exactly? No, he's yeah.
And that is the other side of the other thing that we've been kind of saying for ages as well. It's like building up that sales team, building up like that infrastructure, building up the cloud infrastructure and the sales pipeline and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I guess we said it earlier. That is not a small feat.
No.
And it's a very different. What Google is offering versus OpenAI and Anthropic is very, very different.
It's totally different set of products, and like it comes with good stuff where it's like they have this massive business that's existed for 20 plus years that is insanely profitable and like can help fund this, and also means that if one of these departments or whatever projects falls apart, it's fine. They have a massive bench of other money generating programs. Whereas OpenAI and Anthropic, this is it.
Yeah.
They need to make super intelligence. Coding is the thing they've realized how to do it. Also, there's just the talent problem as well. Like, if you are someone who is like massively interested in working on LLMs and coding and all the rest of it, you are going to top of the pile Anthropic or OpenAI.
Mm-hmm.
If you're being hired. And then under that, maybe even like someone like Elon who's just throwing a shitload of money around to get anyone that won't go to those top two.
Yeah, as well as like you've got all those side ones as well, right? Like the thinking machines
and whatever.
You know.
And and obviously, you know, Google has a great research culture and there's a certain kind of person who wants to be part of that. But at the same time, it's like, do you go to there or do you go to like the very much not nimble, maybe slightly less exciting big tech company that's been around for decades?
Yeah.
And there's like, you know, obviously if you are 22 years old, math PhD genius, you're probably thinking, I want to work at Anthropic or I want to work at OpenAI.
Yeah.
So they have to deal with that as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for sure. Like as is the nature of those things.
We've talked about Google. We might throw up the paywall at this point. If you're not a Down Around premium subscriber, you don't have to worry about the paywall because your podcast player will simply move to the next episode.
Yes.
And there's a couple of things we want to talk on the other side of it. Number one, I know we've talked about it a few times over the past few weeks, but we've got more detail on this OpenAI security incident. It's been
bloody crazy.
It's actually, we would love to talk about it because it's very interesting. And the other one, which I've actually improvised off the top of my head now, but I'd like to talk about it as well. Bunch of stuff out about Canva at the moment.
Okay.
That would be good to chat about.
Yep.
Canva, Australia's leading light, Australia's hero brand, aside from Atlassian, running into issues on the long and rocky road to IPO. We'll be talking about on the other side of the break, folks.